Don't move from where you are and pay attention, because what I'm about to tell you will explain why you've been feeling so alone lately. It will explain why no one came to help when you needed it most and why that wasn't abandonment but the worst plan that higher dimensions music could come up with just for you. Something happened in the celestial court exactly 96 hours ago, and it happened in 4,000 years of human history. God himself, an angel, not an archangel, not an intermediate messenger, directly experienced what celestial records called genuine divine surprise. What shocked him was that you did it all by yourself, with no one else around to help you, validate you, or even know what you were going through. Music, the truth that will shatter all of your ideas about why your path has been so lonely is that there is a huge difference between chosen ones who get help all the time and chosen ones who have to fight their battles alone. You fell into the second group. Music not as a punishment, but because you needed a level of strength that music can only be built in complete solitude. Subscribe to this channel right away and turn on all notifications, because what I'm about to tell you about what you did alone that shocked God is being blocked on purpose so that people like you don't find out how important it was that you did it without anyone else's help. Stay until then, because I'm going to show you music exactly which specific battle you fought alone, why God himself was shocked by your victory, what he said to the celestial hierarchies about you, and what devastating prize is coming for having endured when any other chosen one would have collapsed. If you've been feeling like you fought battles so hard music that you don't even know how you made it through, write 999 in the comments. You're ready to find out why God was really affected by what you did all by yourself. We go back 9 months. There was a change in your life that was so small at first that you didn't notice it. People who were always there for you suddenly started to pull away. Friends who used to reply to your messages right away now took days or just didn't respond at all. Family members who used to help you without you asking were suddenly too busy with their own lives. You weren't crazy or paranoid. It was real. You really did go through a systematic isolation, made you question what you did wrong to deserve being left alone by everyone. Think back to the time 6 months ago when you were in a big problem, and your first thought was to ask for help. You called the number of the person who had always been there for you. When they answered, you could tell something was off in their voice. It wasn't a direct no, but it was something worse. They didn't care. It was like your problem that was ruining your life was just a minor annoyance in their busy day. You felt more alone after you hung up than before you called. Now you had the original problem, the pain of finding out that the person you trusted wasn't really there for you when you needed them. You tried with other people, one at a time. They all told you the same thing in different words. I'm busy. I'm sorry. I can't right now. We'll talk later. But later never came. You got to the point where you realized something that made your blood run cold. You're all alone in this. No one is going to save you. Music. No one is going to come up with the answer, and no one is going to fight this fight for you. That night, when you finally realized that no one could help you, you cried like you hadn't cried in years. It wasn't a soft cry. It was a full breakdown. It was a complete giving up to the harshness of being completely alone. Music facing something that seemed impossible to get through without help. But here's what you didn't know at that time when everything was dark. That separation wasn't an accident. It wasn't bad luck. And the universe wasn't punishing you for something you did wrong in the past. It was a plan from God. God was in charge of getting rid of all human help in a planned way. This was because the music needed you to find inner strength that you would never have found if you had people to save you. God was watching from higher dimensions that night while you cried, thinking you were all alone. Music, what he thought at that moment, was written down in heavenly records. This chosen one is about to find a level of strength that even he doesn't know he has. Let's see if he can do the impossible all by himself. God knew that you were about to face a battle that 99% of chosen ones can only win with help from armies, but you were going to fight it without any soldiers by your side. You had nothing but your will and your brutal faith that you would somehow make it through. You woke up the next morning, and the problem was still there, but you were different now. It wasn't a mystical vision or an angelic voice telling you what to do. It was something much easier and more terrible. You knew you had to get up and fight because if you stayed on the ground, you would die. Music, you began to move. It wasn't with a brilliant plan or a master strategy. It was with the blind determination of someone who had nothing to lose because they had already lost everything they thought they needed. You did the first thing without knowing if it was the right thing to do. You made the first choice without knowing for sure that it would work. You made the first move, even though you knew you could fail completely. You did it anyway because you didn't want to give up. Something deep inside you, in logic or emotion, wouldn't give up. And here's the worst part. It worked, not perfectly, and not right away, but it worked well enough to give you hope that you could do it on your own. You took the second, and 100th steps, each one on their own, one by one, each one putting all of the responsibility on your shoulders. There were times when you fell. There were days when the weight was so heavy that you couldn't move. There were nights when you begged music out loud for someone, anyone, to come and help, even if it was just a little. No one came. You had to decide again whether to give up or keep going alone. Every time no one showed up, you always chose to keep going, even if it took hours or days to find the strength. How many fights did you have that no one saw? How many times did you fight the urge to give up when it would have been so easy to just give up? How many right choices did you make when you wanted to take the easy way out? It wasn't just one fight. It was hundreds, thousands. It was a war every day. Every hour was a fight. Every minute you chose not to give up was a victory that no one saw, not even God. He was keeping track of every small win by watching every second. He was writing down every time you did something that seemed impossible without anyone else saying it was possible. Weeks turned into months, and slowly, almost without you noticing it at first, you started to notice something amazing. You were winning, not all at once, not in a big way, but you were moving forward on your own, without an army, music in clear throat, without help, without outside validation. But you were moving forward anyway. Music, you reached a very important point exactly 3 months ago. It was the day you faced the last challenge, the last thing standing in the way of your full victory. It was so big, so impossible, and so hard that you really thought, I can't do this. This is too much for me. For the first time in months, you thought this. Any reasonable person would have agreed with you. You needed resources you didn't have, skills you didn't have, and help that wasn't there to deal with what you were up against. But you did something that even you don't fully understand to this day. Instead of giving up on the impossible, something inside you woke up. It was like all the fights you had fought alone before had been preparing you for this moment. It felt like every little win had been a step toward this final war. You went after the problem with a level of anger that shocked even you. It wasn't giving people courage. It was pure desperation that led to brutal action. It was a complete refusal to give up after getting this far all by myself. You worked without taking a break. You kept thinking. You moved everything you could and used everything you had. You got every last bit of energy out of your body and soul. You found reserves you didn't know you had when you thought you had nothing left to give. 3 weeks of full-on war. 3 weeks when you only got 4 hours of sleep each night. 3 weeks where everyone who saw you noticed something was different but couldn't put their finger on it. It was very strong. It was a determination that went beyond what is normal for people. It was someone who had a desire to win that went beyond any reason or limit. And 64 days ago, it happened. You did it after fighting battles that no one else saw, after refusing to give up when everyone else would have, and after doing the impossible all by yourself. You won. It wasn't a small win. It was a win that shouldn't have been possible for someone in your situation. It was the defeat of an enemy that needed armies to win, but you beat it on your own, with your own hands, mind, and will that couldn't be broken. When it was all over, when the dust settled, and when you realized you had really done it, there were no crowds cheering, no public recognition, and no trophies, medals, or news headlines. You were the only one there, sitting in silence, taking in what you had just done. But here's what you didn't see in that quiet time after the storm. Something amazing was happening in the heavenly realm. God saw every second of your fight alone, and felt something that the records say is unique. He was really and truly shocked. Not because he thought you couldn't do what always knew you could, but because of how you did it, how determined you were, and how you refused to give up even when it would have been right to do so. Music. God has seen many people who were chosen throughout history. He has seen battles that were huge and victories that seemed impossible, but very rarely. Music has he seen a chosen one win a war of that level all by themselves, with no help from anyone else, and with no one else validating them. You did it. That changed how higher dimensions see you in some way. God called together a council of higher celestial authorities exactly 96 hours ago. The whole hierarchy was there, seraphim, archangels, thrones, and so on. When everyone was there, God did something that had never been done before. He showed you the whole record of your fight, not just the best parts, but everything. Every time you fell, cried, or almost gave up but decided to keep going. No one celebrated every little win. You walked alone every step of the way. Every right choice you made without knowing for sure that it would work. The whole council watched in silence, and when it was over, there was a moment of complete stillness. What they had just seen was a level of determination that even angels and demons don't often see. There's extra content in the description and pinned comment for those who want to learn more. Then God spoke, and what he said was written down word for word in permanent records in heaven. This chosen one did something that 99% of humans can't do with help. He did it alone, completely alone, and he didn't just survive, he won devastatingly. When God was done speaking, something happened that had never happened in that kind of meeting before. A seraphim, who usually don't show surprise because they don't have human emotions, bowed their heads in recognition of what they had seen. It was a silent but powerful statement in music. This chosen one just moved up a level, because there are different levels of chosen ones. Some people have potential, some learn new skills, and some need help to complete their missions. But there is also the highest level, music, those who do the impossible all by themselves when everyone and everything leaves them. You went into that music group, not by title or declaration, but by clear evidence of what you did when no one was watching but higher dimensions. But God's surprise didn't stop with recognition. It made a law that will change the course of your whole life. God told all the heavenly beings, this chosen one showed him music can do the impossible on his own. Now think about what he'll do when we finally give him the army he deserves. Did you hear that? You weren't alone for good. It was a test of music. It was training and making. Now that you've passed the hardest tests there is, and shown that you can win wars all by yourself, it's time for the part that will blow your mind. The divine decree says that 3 specific things will happen in your life music in the next few months. First, within 90 days at the most, people will start to show up in your life who are on a completely different frequency than the people you used to know. They won't be casual friends. They'll be top-notch spiritual warriors who will instantly see what you did on your own. Their music will want to fight with you in the next battles. You won't have to look for them, convince them, or prove your worth because what you did alone is proof enough. They'll just show up one by one, like puzzle pieces that fit perfectly into place. And here's the worst part. They all fought battles that were impossible to win all by themselves. God is putting together an army of lowly chosen ones, who has shown that they don't need help but deserve it anyway. You're going to be in charge of some of that army. Second, the chance you've been waiting for years will come up in the next 180 days, but not in the way you thought it would. It will be bigger and better. It will fit so perfectly with who you became during the battle that you'll know right away that it's not a coincidence but a planned reward from the stars. When that chance comes, you'll see something amazing. You won't have to work hard to earn it or act like someone you're not. What you did alone made you exactly who you need to be to get what's coming. Within a year at the most, there will be a public moment when what you did alone will be shown in ways you can't hide. Not because you want attention, but because a win like that can't stay hidden forever. People who left you when you needed them will see what you did without them. They will feel something that will destroy them from the inside, deep regret for not being their one they could have been and for missing out on something legendary, because they were too busy with boring things. But you won't feel happy about getting back at someone. You'll feel something else, a mix of caring and not caring. You don't need validation from the people who left you when you fight a war by yourself and win. Their opinions don't matter anymore, and their regret doesn't bother you because you've grown beyond what they can give you. The decree sets up both rewards and protections. God knows that what you did by yourself will make a lot of people jealous. It will make people who weren't enemies before into enemies, and make people who were neutral jealous. Protection was turned on that works on 3 levels. Level 1, if someone tries to ruin what you've built on your own, their own life will automatically fall apart, not because you cursed them, but because attacking someone who shocked God is like signing your own death warrant. You don't have to think about defending yourself. Protection is already in place. In the next few weeks, you'll see people who talked bad about you mysteriously, music going through hard times. People who wanted to hurt you will see their plans blow up in their faces. People who are secretly against you will show themselves because of the way things are. It's not random karma. It's protection from the heavens that gets rid of music threats before they can get to you. Level 2, fake chances that music would try to lead you off your path will be blocked automatically. You won't get any tempting offers that would hurt your integrity, or if they do, you'll feel an instinctive rejection so strong that you won't be able to accept them, even if they seem perfect on paper. God knows that after winning a war by yourself, you'd be open to offers that promise to make things easier. Some of those offers would be traps music meant to take away what you worked so hard for. Protection keeps you from falling into them. Level 3, when you have to make important choices, you'll get supernatural clarity about the right thing to do. You won't hear a voice. Instead, you'll just know something so strongly that you can't ignore it. It will be a certainty music that goes beyond logic. You will never make a mistake when you make important decisions if you trust that advice. A chosen one who has shown they can make the right choices on their own deserves it. They deserve direct divine guidance when they really need it, without any outside help. But there's something else in the decree that will change the way you think about how spiritual dimensions work. God wasn't just surprised by what you did. He was so moved that he made an extraordinary decision to use your story as an example for other chosen ones who are fighting their own battles right now. Right now, thousands of chosen ones are in the same place you were months ago, feeling alone, fighting battles that no one else sees, wondering if God has forgotten them, and wondering if they have the strength to keep going alone. God is telling them your story through dreams, visions, and revelations, not your name or any specific details, but the essence of music, what you did to give them hope, that they can win completely alone if they keep going. Your one victory gave hope to other chosen ones, without you knowing it or looking for it. You are lost in the dark. Your refusal to give up is inspiring armies of people you'll never meet to keep fighting when everything tells them to give up. That's how heavy what you did was on its own. It wasn't just a win for one person. It changed the frequency of all chosen ones around the world. But you might be wondering what specific battle shocked God. Since you fought a lot of them, which one generated divine surprise? It wasn't the biggest, and it wasn't the most visible. It was the most silent. It was the battle you fought against yourself. It was the internal war nobody saw. It was the moment 5 months ago you had the perfect opportunity to surrender to a temptation that nobody would have judged. It was a moment where the easy path was available, and it would have been completely justified to take it. You were alone. Nobody was watching, and nobody would have known. There were no human witnesses, no cameras, no judging eyes. It was just you and your conscience, just you and God. In that moment of perfect temptation, when surrendering would have been so easy, when nobody would have blamed you, music, and when even logical justification was available, you chose integrity, not because someone was watching music, but because something inside you refused to betray what you knew was right, even when nobody would know if you betrayed it. That decision, that silent battle against your own weakness, that invisible victory nobody celebrated, was what shocked God more than any external achievement. Anyone can be good when witnesses are watching. Anyone can choose right when there are social consequences for choosing wrong, but choosing integrity when absolutely nobody would know if you betray it reveals a character that transcends common humanity. God saw that decision, documented that moment, and said something to the celestial hierarchies that was permanently recorded. This chosen one doesn't need witnesses to do right. Music, he doesn't need validation to maintain integrity, and he doesn't need an audience to be who he really is. That is an absolute rarity among humans. For that silent battle you won against yourself when nobody was watching, and for that invisible victory only you and God know about, comes a reward that will manifest in music ways impossible to ignore. Secret integrity always generates public blessings, always, without exception. It's an unbreakable spiritual law. But there's a dark side to having shocked God with music what you did alone. Your enemies in lower dimensions now have a real fear of you. If you accomplish the impossible completely alone, without help, without resources, and without support, what will you accomplish now that celestial help has been officially activated? Music that question terrifies them, because they know a chosen one who wins wars alone is dangerous, but a chosen one who wins wars alone and then receives help is unstoppable, because they receive a celestial army. They become unstoppable. Therefore, in the coming months, you'll experience intensified attacks, not physical, but spiritual, desperate attempts to make you doubt, to make you question if you really accomplish something significant, and to plant seeds of insecurity that make you retreat in territory you gained with blood and tears. Prepare for internal voices that will say it was luck, that anyone would have accomplished it, that it wasn't that impressive, and that you're exaggerating the magnitude of your victory. Those voices aren't yours. They are attacks from forces that want to neutralize you before you realize the real power you now carry. Here is how you defeat them. Remember every moment you almost gave up but chose to continue. Remember every tear you shed alone. Remember every battle you fought without anyone applauding. Remember the brutality of what you survived completely alone. Those memories are your armor against doubts planted by desperate enemies. Nobody can take away what you accomplished when absolutely nobody helped you. Music, there's something else you need to know about what's coming. The isolation you experienced wasn't just a test, it was training. It taught you the music most valuable skill any chosen one can possess, spiritual self-sufficiency. Now you know you don't need crowds to validate you. You don't need applause to continue. You don't need external recognition to know your worth because you proved it in the most brutal battlefield possible, absolute solitude under extreme pressure. That self-sufficiency is what makes you a true leader. Leaders whose music need constant validation collapse when criticism comes. But leaders who were forged in solitude, who learn to validate themselves, and who know their worth independently of external opinions, those are unbreakable. Music, that's what you became without realizing it while fighting alone. You became a leader who can't be destroyed by social rejection because you survived it. You already experienced total rejection and survived. You already know the worst case possible, being completely alone against the impossible, and you won anyway. Now nothing can break you because you already experienced the worst that can happen to a chosen one. And you didn't just survive, you conquered. Within 3 months, you'll receive an invitation. You won't know where it comes from, and you won't understand why they're choosing you, but it will be an opportunity to show what you learned fighting alone. When you accept it, you'll discover everything you suffered in solitude was the exact preparation for what that opportunity requires. Skills you developed when nobody taught you, strength you forged when nobody supported you, wisdom you gained when nobody guided you. Everything will fit perfectly. You will understand retrospectively that the abandonment you felt was actually the most perfect preparation possible for what's coming. Within 6 months, you'll experience a music moment of synchronicity. It will be an impossible synchronicity. You'll meet a person or receive information that will be exactly what you need at the exact moment. It will be so perfectly timed that you can't call it a coincidence. It will be physical confirmation that God is orchestrating your life with surgical precision, that the abandonment you suffered was temporary, and that help was always available in higher dimensions, even if not on the human plane. Within 9 months, you'll face the final test. It will be the temptation to return to your comfort zone, to settle in the victory you already won, and to stop expanding because what you have is enough. It will be a crucial test because chosen ones who shock God with solitary victories frequently fall into the trap of conforming afterward. They think they've done enough music and they retire from the battlefield because they won their personal war, but the divine decree requires you to continue, to use what you learn it alone to help armies, music to transform. You must transform a personal victory into a collective movement, becoming a general who leads other solitary chosen ones toward their own impossible victories. Rejecting the temptation to conform will be as difficult as the battles you fought alone, because it will require sacrificing the comfort gained with so much pain. It will require returning to the risk zone when you finally reach security. It will require choosing the discomfort of growth over the peace of stagnation. But if you reject it, if you choose to continue expanding, when it would be easier to stay than within 12 months, you'll experience a manifestation of abundance that will surpass music, everything you accomplished alone. God has specific mathematics. A chosen one who does the impossible alone, nothing receives an exponential multiplication. When finally given resources, it's not addition. Music, it's multiplication. What you build alone will be the foundation. What's coming will be the complete building. Within 1 year maximum from music now, people who abandoned you when you needed them will try to return. They'll have reasons, excuses, and music justifications for why they weren't there. Here's your most difficult test. Forgive them without allowing them to return to the positions they had before. Forgiving is freeing yourself from the point of resentment, but allowing them to return as if nothing happened is betraying what you learned in their absence. Some will deserve a second chance in different roles. Others will need to remain outside permanently. You'll have the wisdom to discern the difference because solitary battles teach you to meet people with a precision that only comes from having been betrayed when you were vulnerable. Chosen one, what you did alone wasn't just a personal victory. It was a declaration before the entire spiritual universe that you can't be underestimated. It was physical proof that determination overcomes circumstances. It was a demonstration that shocked God himself. It showed music that humans are encounter capable of more than even higher dimensions anticipate. Therefore, for having done the impossible when everyone abandoned you, for having won a war completely alone that required armies, and for having maintained integrity when nobody was watching, a decree was issued guaranteeing the next 12 months will rewrite your life in ways you can't currently imagine. The isolation has ended. the training is completed, and the test is passed. Music, now comes the reward. It will be so devastating that even you will be surprised by what God prepared for the chosen one who surprised him. If this revelation resonated in your soul, if you recognized your own solitary battle in these words, and if tears came music while listening because someone finally understood what you went through completely alone, that's confirmation this message was designed specifically for you. For those who made it this far and want to deepen this music knowledge, listen closely. To learn how to maximize rewards from solitary victories, there's specific material that costs less than a pizza and comes with a complete audiobook and a 5-minute meditation guide as a special bonus if you feel you deserve to accelerate the manifestation of the divine decree. Access is available in the description link and can comment. Write 999 in the comments to amplify the frequency of divine recognition and activate synchronicities, music that will bring the army you deserve. Subscribe to this channel and activate all notifications to receive more revelations about how solitary victories generate exponential rewards. Share this video with someone you feel is fighting battles alone right now because they need to know God is watching and divine music surprise is coming for those who don't give up. Before you leave, click on the video appearing on the screen right now to discover the exact signs that your isolation was a divine strategy and not abandonment, and how to recognize when the celestial army is about to arrive. Together, we are stronger.